I told her I wanted her to make money.
Can I add... Ooh. Hey, what's better, cobia or a redfish? How about we go with cobia then, please? Thank you.
Chicken tacos.
Nice. It's a good Tuesday lunch right there. Chicken taco.
There should be no seeds on your stuff.
Yep.
No, you should be fine.
Chicken taco.
Thank you very much.
Neither one of you know what we're doing.
No,
That's
this is
fair.
what he does to me all the time.
That's fair.
I know you're going to end up knocking over some drinks. Okay.
I had every
Look,
morning
I'm
I
gonna show
get
this 'cause
these
This is cool looking. The logo.
these funny videos that just get sent to me, beamed in through the universe. And this morning was Ric Flair from the early 80s. Woo! Woo! He goes, woo! He goes, I spent more money on spilt liquor than you'll spend in the rest of your life. I was like,
You know, we
dang,
know
Rick.
Ric Flair.
Do you really? He seems like
let him live his life.
He kind of seems like the guy I want to leave alone.
I felt like that was a really douchey line in the whole thing. This is how capitalism works. With the tone that went with it, though, I didn't like that. He basically said, if you're an investor, sucks to be
sucks
you.
to be
That's
you.
how it sounded when he said, and for all the investors, you know, you get nothing because that's how capitalism works. And I was like, why? Why is this how you want to phrase this before you old man hobble out of this podium and through the door? Like, first off, the way he walked out, I was like,
Yeah,
sir,
what's up with that?
That doesn't
Little,
look good. Not just
little pep in
the
the
way
step,
you like
that
weirdly
kinda-
talk now versus during the
Just
campaign trail, but
sliding out.
the slide out of the room was weird. But the
With the shuffle in.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
get
he
the.
just got some
He
from
was
Mrs.
just kind of
Miss
Yeah.
Biden just like,
spiked his
isn't
insure
her name
yesterday or
Jill?
something.
Jill Biden.
Jill Biden, yeah.
Jill? Okay.
She had a weird,
Miss Biden if you're nasty.
a weird,
You're an idiot.
boom, a weird thing with Camilla Harris's husband at the.
Kamala?
Yeah, at the State of the Union address. Did you
Like
see
weird
that?
as in they touch each other too many times. Like remember that thing with Michelle
Wait, didn't
Obama and
somebody
George Bush
kiss-
wanted to be right next to her
Yep.
so
Like,
much,
kiss
and
Joe Biden in the mouth.
is that what happened?
Yep.
Oh.
And we're talking like, we're not talking just like the cheek, you know,
Uh-huh. Like on the mouth?
yeah, oh yeah,
Oh.
super awkward.
Oh no, that
Super
wouldn't
awkward.
work out for me.
I think they're supposed to save that for the parties where they wear the masks and the horn.
And then put
Yeah,
the keys in the bowl.
That's a DC thing.
But
That sounds about
Pineapple.
so
right. Upside down.
the key word that we're going to focus on today is this is how capitalism works.
Okay.
And explain how it really works.
Well, here's the thing. If I fully knew how capitalism really worked,
You know, the thing that is really interesting when it comes to, in my opinion, like the this is how capitalism works thing, if you look at over the course of time, every time these big banks fail, remember it was, what was it? It was too big to fail. Remember that?
Yes.
You've got all these, there's like two different rules when it comes to their idea of capitalism where what happens if my business hits,
thank you very much.
thank you,
Oh, that's pretty.
if my business hits the point that I were to
spot
need
for it.
help.
Out of the way.
Yeah,
Thank you
thank
very
you.
much.
You
Yes.
can use your volume.
Word.
That way I know.
Word.
it's actually good.
Yep.
I like to do this every once in a while. Okay.
Fair enough. That's the thing that I find interesting about it. Like he says, this is how capitalism works. But my question is like, okay, so this bank fails, other banks fail. Remember there was the too big to fail stuff back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
But what if I need help? I mean, what determines who gets these bail-ins and these bailouts and all this stuff? Like I look at every day, I go back and look at the analytics of the store on Square from day over day, month over month, year over year, just to see how we're looking, you know, this year compared to last and so on and so forth. And Square will feed you every single analytic that you could possibly want. I mean, it'll tell you everything you want to know down to how much inventory you've sold different from last year.
Oh, that's actually really cool.
It is
'Cause
super
That's what
cool.
I was curious about that.
Yeah, and it's especially for us. I mean, it's really nice to kind of track how things are going and trending and everything. But that's the thing. I mean, what if looking at these analytics, I'm like, crap, we're in trouble. Mm-hmm. I need help.
The only way for you to get help as a business is to go get a loan from someplace.
And, you know, the business,
and
the other factor of that too is we've been in business for about a year and 5 months. Mm-hmm. They won't loan you money unless you've been in business at least 2 years. They refuse.
Oh, that
won't
is
do
true.
It. Yeah. So, I mean, if I was to need help and I went to the government and was like, hey, y'all, I'm in trouble, think they'd give it to me?
As a business, no. As a person, yes. But then you got weird lines being crossed there
Let
as
me-
a person.
Let me just jump in real quick.
Yeah.
As a small business, they're only going to lend money to the businesses that don't need it.
Yeah.
As a small business that needs money, you're shit out of luck.
100%. 100%. And I mean, again, you go back to like the whole bail-in thing, where what they're going to do is they're going to use investors' money and fees from investing to bail in these banks that are failing based on their bad business practices. I mean, that would be like me taking, oh, welcome, sir. Have yourself a little sip there, huh?
Or
You
drowned.
just save your little life. Yeah.
Pretty sure he drowned. It's a good
I'm
way
cool
to
with
go,
dying
though.
like that.
It's
If
a good
that's
way
how it
to go.
goes, if he dies, he
some bubbly
dies.
beer.
Send me on my way.
But did you die?
But like,
So if you need help, what do you do?
I mean, at the point we're at right now, if I need help, the only way you could do it would be to cut cost in every possible way that you can to start. So how do you do that? You cut employees loose, because I work for free. So the first step would be,
How long have you worked for free?
I've worked for free for on my way to 2
I
years.
was about to say at least 1 year.
Yeah,
however
on my
long
way
the
to
place
2
has been
years,
open.
and that's one of the ways that I've managed to kind of keep things rolling in this economic downturn is I work for free. So how does that help the economy? Because that's another thing Joe said is like, these banks failing is good for the economy. It's good for America. Like,
Who's actually winning with these banks failing?
The government wins with the bank fails. FDIC technically is winning with the bank fails because they get to go in and take it over. So now they have control over the bank and
yeah,
the money.
Well, who's buying the stock?
and it's
So the people buying the stocks are the bigger companies. And like I pointed out before, Blackrock has their
BlackRock,
hands in
yep.
everything. So what's funny is with SVB, or Silicon Valley Bank, it is the only bank in the United States. It is also a bank in China. I don't know if you knew that. I figured that out and spoke about that yesterday. But they are the only tech bank or bank in the United States. It's also a bank in China, and BlackRock had its hands in both sides.
And you know what is
So-
interesting when it comes to BlackRock and all these high-level C-suite executives that work for these banks? If you do research on these individual dudes, with about 2/3 of them, this is not the first bank this has happened to when these guys are employed there.
Oh no! So I saw that.
You know,
so the guy who
like,
was
what
over
the heck, man?
the guy who's over Signature Bank actually was at a few banks before that one. If I'm remembering which bank it was, I'm pretty sure it was Signature Bank. The guy John something or other, I think, is Signature Bank. He was at a couple places before that, and I think he worked for, I want to say Goldman Sachs, but maybe it was somebody else before that.
Wasn't Kurt Thomas the one you pull off the bench when you wanted to just foul the crap out of
Yes, it
somebody?
was.
So you got these,
Yeah,
you got
bring in the
these-
closer.
you got the CEOs like, yo, we need
to burn this one down.
Right now. Put me in, coach.
Yeah,
Well, so-
yeah. It's
so
like,
here's the
what was
thing.
your last job? I worked at Enron. You're hired.
You're hired. So here's the thing with SVB, Silicon Valley Bank. Talked about it yesterday over on my channel. But the main investors in SVB actually started pulling back in February of this year, beginning of February, the same time the East Palestine, Norfolk Southern train derailment happened, literally the same day. February 3rd, that train derailed is the same day that people started pulling money out at SVB. You had JP Morgan and Chase, you had BlackRock, you had some Vanguard, you had a couple of other ones that went in and pulled money out. So when you have these big players pulling out what most would say is a little bit, but it's millions upon millions of dollars, of course you're going to have issues. And then, SVB sees it, and then their main executive decides to go ahead and pull out a ton of money
Yeah, he's
to give
magically
back to
just gonna-
himself and his shareholders. And then, because what didn't make sense to me was they needed $2.5 million to like shore up or make even the what is it, back page? No, the something or other. And instead of trying to find a way to make 2.5 million, they pulled out 42 billion. How does that work? If you already had 42 billion, why not figure out the way to make 2.5 like that? It's like they wanted to fail.
They'll make it back
so
with
they
the
could
next
get their
one.
money.
They'll make it back with the next bank they start up to fail.
Well, so that's the thing. Biden also said, though, that all these people that manage these banks no longer have a job. Well, obviously, because their banks are taken away, they're gone. But I don't know if that means future they can no longer work in the banking industry. Like, is there going to be like, you know how like back in the day, if you bounced a check, they put your check up on the
Oh, yeah, you go on the door at the
convenience
supermarket?
store at the
Yeah.
supermarket. I wonder if now this guy's picture is up on the door of the bank and you can't hire him.
It's like college football head coaches. You suck. You go to Florida.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah,
You
exactly.
have a job.
Yeah.
You know.
And
We
realistically,
can't talk negative about Florida football anymore. We got to either decide if
That's
we're
fair.
Gators fans
That's
or
fair.
Seminole fans.
That's fair.
I'm going to go Gators. I like the colors better.
at this point, think about it too. I mean, if so, you work at this bank, you pull $5 million on top of whatever you were making before,
Dang, your food came out fast.
and then they say you can't work again. You got a whole bunch of money. You'll be all right.
Yeah, it's true. Oh, those look good. Should have got tacos.
Those do look good.
Nope, mine looks good too.
That does look
Thank
good.
you.
Really?
Thank you.
This is really good. Okay, Dan.
Did you want another drink, sir?
Sure.
Yes, please.
Anything else I can bring over, y'all?
I'm
I
good.
think I'm good.
I like these fries.
I like those fries too.
Dangerous.
I'm gonna steal some of your fries.
All right, so
It looks good.
You want a bite?
I'm good.
You don't like fish?
But it does look good.
It is
Ooh,
good.
you know, you roll that into jobs numbers are up. But are they though? Or is it people getting a second job because they can't afford to survive? Bam! That was loud.
go for it.
I'm good with it.
Give my keywords, please.
Yeah, I mean, it is very true though, because especially under the constraints of Joe's capitalism, it's very difficult as a small business owner to find any sort of extra capitalization or extra funds, because if you do get a loan, you instantly have to start paying it back. So now you're looking at another payment just to get money at a high interest rate, because the interest rates are only going up. So the next option you have is cut everywhere you can. So you start working it yourself and firing employees. But what's the benefit to that? Because what you're really doing is putting more strain on yourself to do a regular line job when you're supposed to be the owner growing the business. So the next thing you end up having to do on top of that is get creative. Because like I talked about in that one video that we had, where you can't refuse to accept the situation. You can't just say, okay, cool, if we go out of business, we go out of business. Like, you can't accept that. And another thing that I said in the video too is everybody on the planet is so used to this idea that 3 strikes and you're out. And in real life, 3 strikes is not it. Like, you're never out.
Yeah.
You get to keep swinging until you're dead.
Yeah.
So
or you have to keep swinging until you're dead. I don't know
Yeah,
if
you have no
get to, but
choice.
you have to.
Yeah.
Some people
And
give up.
Some people do give up.
Some people do, but
you see where it ends them a lot of times is those are the people that a lot of the times are in areas asking for help because they gave up instead of trying to figure out how to make it work. Not always, but a lot of the times.
Exactly. And so you do what you have to make it work. And what that ends up being is, as a business owner, I end up having to get another job. Because if the company's not making money, there's not money for me to pull to make, owner's draw for myself so that I can take money away from the business.
Now here's the
So
other
you gotta
downside.
Go get a job that your employees probably don't know about, to put money that you earn into the business.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So here's the other downside. If you are eat your food. We can eat and talk. We'll make it work.
Sure.
Okay, so that's why I'm talking now, so you can take some bites. Don't worry. I'll drag it out. So here's the downside. If you as the there's your napkin. If you as the napkins there. If you as the owner have to go get a second job, and you're also laying off employees at your current business, it's going to hurt your business also in the long run, because you're either going to have to hire more people instead, since you will no longer be there, which then costs more money, which means you have to work harder to replenish said money from your own personal money into your business money, or you have to be willing to take those hours where you're not open because you're not there to work for free, which also in the end hurts the business because it's not open to make it sales if you're focused on brick and mortar. Now, if it's digital, there's a little bit of a difference.
There's this theory, it's called the zero-sum game. And the point of the zero-sum game is no matter how you play, in the end, everyone always loses. And this is a perfect example, the perfect storm of the zero-sum game, like exactly what you're talking about, where if I get a job, I'm not in the store. If I'm not in the store, I have to pay someone to be in the store. They draw a salary. They're not invested in the business in the way that I'm invested in the business. So we create loss and possible theft, money out of the register, all these different things because they're not focused on it. So all these things come together. How do you get ahead in the business?
It's like daycare with new moms.
Oh, that was my thing. When I went back to work, it was, I'm now working to pay for somebody else to watch my child. That's what it boils down to, unfortunately.
Yeah, and in a lot of cases too, I mean, you look at a lot of people that do different jobs here and there, we're all predisposed to the idea that you go back to work and somebody
Thank
watches
you very much.
your...
Appreciate it. Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
Perfect, thank you.
Somebody watches your kid for you and they don't consider that the amount of money that they are spending to do that is back to the zero-sum game. Where, cool, so it's $1,000 a week to get your kid watched, you bring home $850, your net loss of $250 a week. Why are you even working? And that's why, like we were talking about before, it comes back to we get these jobs reports saying there's more Americans working than there ever have, but the metrics that define those don't define how many of these Americans are Americans, 2-3 jobs, because eggs are up 50% over the last month. I put it in the video a couple days ago. Did you know the second biggest problem we face on the southern border is egg smuggling into America? Can you believe that? Like, how is this a problem in today's day and age?
Who had that on their calendar?
Yeah. Raise your hand if your bingo board said March we were going to have people smuggling eggs in from Mexico.
Well, that was the way they got themselves in. They're like, I got eggs though. All right, okay,
Yeah.
come on. You can come in.
Yeah. Oh, you have cocaine. We don't care. There's no margin in that. Oh, you have eggs. Oh, well then.
That was a totally different story.
Well then.
Huevos?
Hey, yeah, right. Yeah. What's up, big guy? Right here.
Oh my God.
F-15s are so cool. So cool. And loud.
I need you to understand, I will never leave this place.
No.
I told him if it was the water, but now it's that. When we were driving here to meet you, we went by two that were like right by the passenger window, and they went sideways, so I got to see their little undercarriage. I don't know what you call it on a plane, but it was the coolest thing I've ever
Soft
seen.
white underbelly of the jet.
There you
Belly.
go. That.
Correct. But yeah, like, how is that a thing that we're now smuggling eggs into America?
So here's my question.
There we go.
Is this a push? So when Biden says, you know, all you investors, you're shit out of luck, basically, that's how capitalism works. Is that his way of trying to make it seem like capitalism is a bad thing so that when they get to socialism or something, that's better?
I think so. I think it is, because you look at what they've already started doing when it comes to the future of our banking system. Is there a gator down there? And when it comes to the future of our banking system, all Biden's talked about so far is increased regulation. And what is one of the first steps of making a socialist economy and a socialist system, which is increasing regulation.
Are we talking about CBDC?
Well, what
Yes,
did he
we are.
say? He said, we want to know how this happened, why it happened, so it doesn't happen again. The only way that they could control that is if the central banks controlled all the money, not leaving up to private institutions.
My thought was that Biden and the government is now worried about Blackrock and how much of a span they have in banking, in technology, in oils, in minerals, because they literally have their hands in everything. And people go, well, it's not BlackRock, they're investing for their investors. Well, BlackRock decides what they want to put the most of their money into. They decide where the majority of their stuff is going to go.
Well, you also got to realize that the government can't invest, but BlackRock can.
And you look at the balance sheet of the Fed and the balance sheet of our government when it comes to the deficit and the possibility of a government shutdown. If you are Joe Biden and Janet Yellen and you're looking at a private equity firm who has the money to throw around that our U.S. government does not have because we just don't have it, that would be troubling.
Well, who did the Fed reach out to during the pandemic to get help with everything? They reached out to BlackRock.
That's right.
So you already have BlackRock in basically, I would say the government's pocket, but I feel like the government is in BlackRock's pocket. But a lot of people are like, well, the Fed isn't really the government. They are a government subsidy. What's the words that was used? I don't remember exactly how it was phrased. But
they're definitely an entity.
they're an entity, but they're an independent. They're not run by the government itself, which is in itself kind of weird,
It's like the
since the Fed
IRS.
is the one who runs the money. It's like the IRS.
They're not government, but they take your money away for the government.
So totally off topic, but there's this new huge massive push for hydrogen energy coming out right now. Like there's billions upon billions of dollars possibly on the table for companies now to get tax kickbacks or tax cuts if you are looking to make green hydrogen energy. But the IRS has to approve it first. So the IRS is the one who's going behind and deciding how this will work and what kind of tax cuts you get and stuff like that.
I
And it's
thought
like,
you were going to say the push for the Pfizer.
well, I'm sure that has something to do with it too, but it's weird that the IRS is the deciding factor on clean energy or not. Do you know what I mean? Like, it comes down to how much money it can yield or how much money you can get as a write-off.
You would think of all of the different houses, so to speak, of the U.S. government, that seems like it would be more of a, like Department of Transportation. That seems. The Department of Energy, they maybe, energy, clean
The
energy.
IRS?
It's even in the name.
Yeah.
Clean energy, energy, yeah. But,
EPA?
yeah, EPA, I mean,
Yeah, we know how much we can trust the EPA
Yeah,
right
sure,
now.
they're good to
Actually,
go.
it's Ohio EPA that sucks. That's why mainstream EPA has gone into East Palestine to overtake the situation because the Ohio EPA
They're
was
just like, y'all,
slacking off.
what are you doing? We're in. We're coming in. Yeah, but you can trust the IRS because they're a service.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
You
that's
said
what
it
the
with a
S-
straight face. I was
That's
like,
what
wait,
the S
what?
stands for.
Service.
Service. Yeah.
Internal
it's fine.
revenue, screw you over.
Yeah, you can trust us.
Wasn't
It's
there a
fine.
wrestler that was like IRS?
Yes, there was.
There's a wrestler called IRS.
Erwin Arsheister. He was the $1 million man's tag team partner, man. Big into wrestling when I was a kid. Big time.
Only
Hated that
guys would
guy.
know that.
Hated that guy.
Shyster.
Again, we need to do like a live or something where we just talk about 80s wrestlers. I can do it
on
for
your list, isn't it?
4 to 5. It is in my list, yes. Yes. And you know what created that? This, right here.
Beer.
That's exactly how I came up with the
Beer
decision
makes
that
all the good choices.
people would like to watch
To hear
and
about 80s
talk to me about 80s professional
So
wrestling.
you want to think about it, the Constitution was probably written after some cold ones or some warm ones.
Ugh.
I'm about to say, they weren't cold back then.
Yeah, most likely. To get me to basically sign my own death warrant, I'm gonna need a couple of beers, without a doubt. But circling the wagons.
Oh, but the way Biden said the word investors made it sound like a dirty word.
I didn't like that.
I didn't like that.
I didn't like that at all.
I didn't like that at all. Everything else sounded fine. I mean, a little slurry because he's getting old and whatnot. But I did not like
True.
how in the investors, basically it sucks to be you. So basically what he's saying is don't invest in companies. Like don't give anybody a leg up, if you will.
I mean, as an investor, you got to know the risks.
What I don't
But
like
that's
when it
also
comes
like saying don't do the stock market because that's investing.
what I don't like when it comes to the investment situation when it comes to Silicon Valley. So news comes out, stock starts to tank. So what does the SEC do? Halt the stock, which is something that is fairly common. I mean, stocks get halted on a fairly regular basis. But what happens immediately after they halt the stock? It gets delisted. So if you own 500,000 shares, you see it tanking, you put it in order to sell it. You want to do what you can. You physically cannot get out. So you mean to tell me that the CEO of the company has himself $3.6 million that week that he pulled out? So he's got his parachute, he's set. But you own 500,000 shares, you're at this point willing to get whatever you can out of it. You may have been in it for $200 a share, not to mention old Jim Cramer, who was on CNBC Mad Money last week, told everybody to go ahead and buy the heck out of that thing, get everything they can because it's a compelling story.
Well, you got to think about it like this. He says that that's how capitalism works. Screw the investors. Y'all are going to lose. Bondholders, y'all are going to lose. The depositors, we're going to take care of. And we're going to take care of you over the $250,000 FDIC insured limit. So is that really how capitalism works?
Well,
Have you ever gotten an insurance claim and the insurance company says, you know what, we're going to give you more money than your car's worth?
yeah. We know your car's worth this. Treat yourself.
Treat yourself. So here's my question. On February 3rd, when Blackrock pulled some of their money out of SVB, and so did other companies, do you think Blackrock, because they started it, do you think they did it as a, let's crash this thing so when it hits the ground, we can come in and scoop the entire thing up. Let's go bail out FDIC from having to take care of it. We'll take it over. We got it. No big deal. Because again, that bank was also related to China, whereas Blackrock is still the only company of its kind that's allowed in China to sell its own.
Let me put it to you like this. Did they take advantage of an opportunity?
Yes.
What was Silicon Valley Bank mostly engaging, like what was their primary customer base?
Techno, startups.
Yeah.
Tech.
Yeah. Tech
Okay.
and startup tech.
So we've already seen, because you and I have done the video where we went down the list of all the layoffs for 2023 so far, which includes mostly tech. So we see the opportunity to pull this money out of the market with a compelling story. Is it opportunity? And if so, what's next?
Well, crypto.
I think so.
That's the other ones that
Yeah.
was crypto.
I think so.
How they went
And-
hand in hand did not make sense to me, but they made a way for it to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing that I find interesting there too is it almost seems like crypto-wise and stock-wise, it was an opportunity built by manipulation, where they knew what the outcome was going to be, so they manipulated it up to that event, and then, boom! Oh no! What? We're going to halt the stock, and then we're going to delist it, and then Joe's going to go on and he's going to say, "Sucks to be you." But we will all already have our money, be able to manipulate the crypto environment, and C, all of our buddies are going to make money because when we break this thing up, they're going to be able to buy in to the parts we break up.
And then everybody who's sitting on the sidelines waiting, what did they do yesterday? They bought
new stuff.
gold.
Yep. Yes, they did.
So
Yes,
this
they
is a push
did.
for gold.
No. It's a win for gold.
Without a doubt.
I don't think gold was even in consideration.
So did gold start the
I don't
whole
think
push?
gold was in consideration. It's just a
One more, please.
it's just
Thank you.
it's a byproduct. They happen to win.
And if you knew this was coming, so there's a company that is one of the better performing gold stocks. It's called Barrick Gold, and they make a ton. They mine a ton of gold. They have a great dividend. Like, it's a good growth company story. But if you knew ahead of time this was going to happen, because it's manufactured, doesn't it seem weird to you that Barrick Gold, as the rest of the market is tanking yesterday, magically was up? That doesn't seem like a surprise to me. I feel like if you knew it was coming.
It's like, but the champagne's already chilled. I mean, who
You want to
doesn't?
try this?
Who doesn't?
Exactly. Good.
This part's really good.
Looks good.
With the onions and everything. Weirdly tasty.
Yeah. Next, I think what we're going to see is they're going to continue to manufacture these opportunities because given the volatility we see across the business world and across the stock market, the crypto market, all that stuff, they're going to manufacture opportunities anywhere they can because when you know the playbook ahead of time, it's kind of easy to win the football game.
I'm about to say, so make sure they win and we lose. Because if we win too much, then they start to lose, and that doesn't look good for them.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's stacked against us anyways because if they end up going the CBDC route, they can take your money anyways. So,
What about Nigeria?
never been there.
Nigerian bank. So the banks of Nigeria told all the people there that the money was useless to bring all the money into the banks, and they were going to give them digital money instead. So all the Nigerians go to Nigerian banks, taking their cash, their money, and the Nigerian bank didn't have enough digital money to give them back.
Or the new money.
New
There's
money.
a mix of new money.
Yeah.
Got that new money.
The
New
new money
money.
and digital.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
But there are videos showing them outside of lock gates watching other people get their money.
That's asking to get robbed and shanked afterwards.
True statement. And, you know, you look at, I talked about in the video a couple days ago, the parallels between the Great Depression and the beginning of the stock market crash and what we saw this week. People lining up outside to get their money, upset with the banks. Certain people could get their money, but banks only carry so much money on hand because you can't hand people ones and zeros. They're using that money to invest. They don't have it on hand. That's what caused the crash. Everybody showed up, wanted their money. Banks didn't have it. So they're going to burn the bank down. That's how it goes. So,
This could push for an increase in asset purchases
yep.
to get out of cash, which would then halt the economy because we're going to be in a holding pattern.
It's like
To
that.
protect.
It's that Spider-Man meme where there's three of them standing around pointing
Yeah.
at each other.
Yep.
To protect.
And they don't want you considering hard assets as a measure of protection because what can they not do to a brick of gold you have in your gun safe?
Take it.
Take it, tax it, do anything to it. It's yours. You own it. It's just like your car.
They can figure out how to take your land and your brick and mortar stuff though.
Yeah, absolutely.
If there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah, for sure. I think we'll see more of it. I really do because they've proven that it works. And they've proven that it works twice now, or well, 3 times now, I guess you could say
Great
it.
Depression, 2008, and
Oh, good Lord. Yeah,
what you're talking about?
whatever this is.
But the problem is they're going to run out. Like if this continues on, the FDIC is going to run out.
oh yeah, they only have the DIF only has 1.35% of the money to cover all the people. 1.35%.
And then in the instance of Silicon Valley Bank, they're over covered.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can.
Because of China, in my opinion, because there's Chinese money in there. You don't want to piss off China.
And I think
right?
they got lucky this time too, because what if the run on these banks and everything turned into J.P. Morgan, Goldman Sachs,
Oh,
Wells Fargo?
man.
Now you're looking at major banks that are funding half of America, not able to meet their business
I mean,
requirements.
you already saw how that plays into Etsy.
Yeah, specifically, because I have money coming in through Etsy, through the Squirrel Tribe channel, boom, and it didn't show up. Waiting on it because they weren't processing transactions. They were holding on to
Here's
it.
what I told him. For people on Etsy, you're not getting your money. There's no reason for you to turn around and send out the materials. So then your customer is on the back end waiting, wondering what the heck.
Yeah, the second and third tier effects of it are crazy because they're waiting, getting pissed off at me. I'm not getting paid. And Etsy is in turn actually hurting itself because you know what they're not getting? Their revenue stream. So it ends up cascading. And I think that's what happens if Goldman Sachs or one of the big banks is next.
They won't be.
They won't.
It'll be all the little ones. And because of the big ones, they'll play the government game.
I mean, Silicon Valley Bank was the 16th largest.
That's true.
It doesn't have to be the biggest, but it just has to be a big one.
Okay. Yeah. That's true.
Yeah, valid point. Well,
And what it just briefly, quickly,
Yeah.
what are you seeing so far this year from the consumer shopping and spending habits compared to last year?
it's really interesting because I think people are tightening down in all the possible ways that they can, where people are still vacationing, but the amount of money that they're spending when they go, based on the analytics and data that I have, shows they're spending about 20% of what they've spent years previously. They're holding on to
That's a lot of
every dollar they can. Yeah, because I mean, they have less money, but they still want to do family stuff. So
here's the question. Is it they're spending only 20%, or is it because food costs so much now that they don't have the ability to buy the souvenirs and the random stuff because they have to pay for the food?
yeah, I mean, speaking of things, totally aside, that gives me anxiety right there.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to drive that.
Picture a boat falling off. The
Yeah,
top
I don't
of
want to drive that thing. No, not at all. And what if, like, as you're moving this thing, you drop that boat onto another boat? Is that camouflage too?
Or a person.
That's a cool
It is
boat.
camo.
It's like white
That's a cool
camo.
boat. Yeah, I like that.
I've driven enough forklifts that I would feel comfortable with it. You just got to go slow. Like
Same.
like we learned with boating, don't go any faster than you're willing to hit something. Because what happens if you
I
go
don't know.
too fast
Depends on the thing I'm willing to hit.
and you hit the brakes, then all that. But I did extreme driving, and I drove a Ferrari F430, and I had insurance on it. And the guy, the instructor, says, "Do you have insurance?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, how much do you have? Because just try not to hit anybody." He goes, "Because you've got insurance for your car, but if you hit a car in front of you, that's more of a problem." So, like you said, when you drop that boat, it's a problem. But if you drop it on someone else's boat,
That's
Yeah.
a bigger problem.
And I feel like as the boat owner, I'm not showing up until I know the boat's in the water. Because as the guy standing here, like, I may have insurance.
how about the
Still
boat
gonna make me
owner
nervous.
getting the boat transported, and it's like a mile away from its destination, but there's a sharp left, and that's when the trailer's like,
Boop. Oh, man. You got insurance?
or when they put cruise ships or big tankers in the water, it's a 50-50 if it's going to float or if it's going to lean too much and just capsize.
I do love those videos when it happens. Not gonna lie, those fail videos where they're just like, "Hey, it's our new $200 million boat," and they push it into the water, and first thing it does is take that list on, and then pew, gone, and you're like, ah, man,
That's what you get for making a video about.
man, somebody's really gonna get fired over this. Probably more than one person.
Man, you think that by now there'd be a better way to put it in?
And you see with some of the smaller ones, they have them on those like wood blocks, like on the tie rails and stuff, and it's just like 5 dudes with sledgehammers, like hammering out the freaking tie rails. Like, no. Speaking of stressful, so. Well, anyways, y'all, I'm G.I. Justin. This is Squirrel Tribe right here. Our lunches are about finished, so thank you guys for watching. Please make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel and comment on things. So thanks so much for watching. Cheers.